Welcome to the Unboxer discussion on the H1B visa and potentially the doubling of the H1B visas being issued 2025 onward based on the leadership of Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, as endorsed a few days ago also by Donald Trump. So given all this, it appears that it's happening. Now, many of you may not be totally familiar with how H1B visas work. For those of you that are possibly international, looking to work in the US, those of you that may be working in the US currently or graduating from school, H1B visas is a path that foreign skilled labor through academics and potentially skills is able to seek employment in America, which makes sense on many levels. The challenge we have in America is that many tech workers have been laid off, especially in 2024, really mass numbers of highly skilled within the tech space, engineers, et cetera, laid off from US jobs, looking for work, limited opportunities that have not resulted in a lot of successful replacement of those laid off. In addition to that, we have lots of students in various STEM programs, software development, et cetera, engineering, various niche focus areas that are either in school or graduating, seeking internships and having a lot of trouble finding them. In fact, applying to even hundreds or 500 plus positions in a given month and receiving not a single interview, not a single technical assessment. And usually the path to a software developer role involves first getting a technical assessment, an invite to participate in that assessment. Upon passing the assessment, that would then lead to an interview, which often is a series, possibly a technical interview, followed by a typical interview that many of you are accustomed to. The challenge is so many applicants are just not even getting an invitation to take that assessment. And we're talking highly skilled engineering, either graduates with master's degrees, or those that have possibly worked in the industry and have gone back to school to further sharpen skills and struggling. So I'd love any comments you might have on this topic. On another platform, had a lot of videos lately that have just kind of blown up based on feedback, a lot of different positions. One of the positions that I find kind of controversial is that some people are claiming that foreign trained developers, for example, are basically producing at 10x the pace of a US based developer. So the theory there, apologies for the cat meowing in the background. He would love to be on camera, but hopefully he won't make it because he'll push the camera out of the way and you'll never hear or see me again. The mic will end up out of place too. But basically, there's this 10x theory that when you bring foreign skilled labor into America, these same engineers working alongside US engineers are basically outpacing, and I keep hearing the number 10x used by HR, used by recruiters, and also used by various engineers that technically are foreign engineers under H1Bs. And I just find this to be very untrue. And the reason is just from a technical perspective, the difference in a master's graduate from a solid university, whether it be an international university in various countries, or whether it be from a US university with a certain amount of industry experience, let's say 3 to 5 years of industry experience with an undergrad STEM degree, go on to get a CS master's, same amount of time and role, basically industry-wise experience, very comparable performance. There may be a 20% variance. There are outliers where some people just are not meant to be engineers, truly, from any country, including America, including wherever. But of those that are skilled, that are competent, the variance, geo-variance, is pretty darn limited. And what I mean by that is I've never seen a case where there's a 10x engineer, someone comes in internationally, fills a US role under an H1B visa, and suddenly they're able to do in 40 minutes what it takes a US engineer 8 hours to complete. That would imply the US counterpart engineer is literally staring at the screen, typing at a very slow pace, and possibly drooling while staring at the screen. It's just really not happening. And this is kind of the point. The point is, number one, I personally believe that we should prioritize jobs for qualified US citizens first, as other countries clearly prioritize their citizens first. And we definitely should fill any gaps in technical skills with foreign skilled workers, outlier edge skills, for example, that we literally cannot find within the US job market. Then sure, let us bring in qualified foreign skilled labor to fill those gaps. Also, if we're not able to fill those gaps based on US applications inbound, well, then that's another argument. But what we're seeing happen is a lot of us that work in big tech, as I do, are in a situation where often 8 out of 10, I have many comments on other platforms saying as much as 90% of their fellow developers are under H1Bs, and the percentage of U.S. citizen. And when I say U.S. citizen, please understand, I don't mean white people. It's not about ethnicity. It's not about path to citizenship. It's not about how a person became a citizen, whether they became a citizen 6 months ago or were born in the U.S. It doesn't matter to me in any way whatsoever. What I'm talking about is a citizen, by definition, has certain rights and privileges and opportunities, which we technically call the American dream. And those coming to America on H-1B visas are doing so probably not just to work for a couple years in America. They're most likely doing so for the long run and hoping to obtain a green card eventually and someday citizenship as well. That's the path. And once you go through those various hoops and you earn citizenship, well, then I mean that you're part of this group of prioritization as well. The challenge is it seems that we're not prioritizing citizens. Instead, what happens is we have a massive influx of international applications for roles, which ends up suppressing the smaller subset of US-based applications for roles, and it just makes it that much harder to even compete based on skills. So in my opinion, it's not really so much about skill comparison. It's about just the sheer numbers of applicants and the experience of lots of current grad students, those that are graduating, those recently graduated that are highly skilled and seeking opportunities in industry are finding they just cannot get assessments and interviews. And the theory being that there's just so many applicants for these roles, there just isn't time to pursue those. And that plus just the influx of foreign workers. So please understand, I am in no way against foreign workers obtaining U.S. highly skilled labor positions, as long as we're doing so after first prioritizing U.S. citizen counterparts of equal skill, equal academics, applying for the same roles. Let's prioritize citizens first, and from there, well, certainly let's fill gaps based on foreign talent, of which there is some. I do not personally see an geo edge based on technical skill set. And what I mean by a geo edge is that people coming from a specific country come into America and just run circles around U.S. engineers. Keep in mind, U.S. citizen engineers may have originated from any country around the world. They may have served in the military. They became a citizen in various ways. But regardless of where a person's born, I don't see genetic differences in a person's ability to be a competent engineer. I really think that the argument that foreign engineers are by definition more highly skilled is a unsubstantiated argument. Now, that's my opinion. I know that many disagree. There's a lot of controversy on that point. I'm just saying it here based on my opinion. And it seems to be a bit split, in fact. So feel free to type in any comments if you have any. I potentially may be missing some since there is a bit of a technical lag going on right now. I realize we are live and I do not see comments. Apologize for that. I was trying to kind of get into comments in case there are any. Yeah, I don't think there are comments yet. So if you have any questions, feel free to post those on there. The last thing I want to do is just give a little bit of advice to those that are looking for work, possibly SDEs within the tech realm. There are a lot of positions opened. For example, TikTok right now, as of yesterday, I should say, had over 2,400 US jobs open. Interesting twist. I know that there's a January 19th date coming up where there's some uncertainty. Will TikTok still be here? We know that President-elect Trump has signaled an openness to negotiate with TikTok. In fact, he has asked the Supreme Court to stand down on enforcing this January 19th cessation. So it appears that likely nothing will happen on January 19th. There will be a continuation, and most likely this will work out. Given that 2,400 jobs, it looks like ByteDance, who owns TikTok, has doubled down on opportunities. And so I certainly think that if you are looking for a job, it may not be a bad place to start. Lots of different offices around the country working at TikTok from those I know that are there. The comp is great pay, kind of a broad range of openings. You don't have to be a developer. There are product managers. There are HR, training, account executive, account management. There's technical and non-technical, technical product managers, non-technical product managers. That's just one of many. But here's the thing I really want to mention. Wherever you're applying to, it's become a numbers game. It seems like it used to be maybe pre-pandemic. You'd apply to a few jobs and you'd get a few interviews and you'd get hired. Now it's like you apply to 200 jobs and you just do not hear back, which is disturbing and concerning, especially for the I don't know 100,000 Americans that are in various academic postgraduate programs to sharpen their tech skills, who have tried to get internships and they're just not getting internships, which is brutal. So those that I know and those that I mentor that have been trying to get these internships and these roles, many of them have applied to 500 plus jobs, which seems like it shouldn't be necessary. But you end up getting enough skill assessments to, if you haven't done these before, to get used to doing them. That's kind of a skill in itself. And from there, you inevitably pass the skill assessments, which allows you to actually compete versus skills versus others. And from there, you get an interview and often get hired. Those that I know, once they get that skill assessment, the kind of the transition from there to interview to hire, pretty good odds. The challenge is just getting that skill assessment, which is really a numbers game. So yeah, so all in all, I'm happy with my role. I work in big tech. I did obtain my CS Masters, and it helped a ton. It opened a lot of doors. It doesn't replace the need to be skilled, obviously, but throughout a CS Masters program, you learn a lot of skills. You learn great skills. And now, as long as you stay sharp, it's easy to forget these things. If you don't use them, you lose them. They seem to come back quickly, but better to stay sharp. I'd encourage you to pursue certificate programs. There are many great programs available online. You don't have to go anywhere in person. Easy to do on your own time. Typically, most don't have scheduled classes, so that's certainly one path. But the other thing you can do is certainly practice and keep all of your project work throughout your university programs. That's part of your professional portfolio. I know many that just didn't keep it. They used a GitHub tied to their university, and once they became an alumni, sometimes you lose access. Those things get kind of evaporated out into nowhere. So keep your project work. Very important to network among fellow students, those that know your skill set that you've worked with on projects, which some of whom will be working in industry, can refer you to opportunities and say, hey, I know this person. They're great. I worked with them with Java, let's say, or C or Python or whatever. They're great at XYZ, and so they give you a referral. Referral kind of helps a bit. It's questionable how much it helps. It may vary by company. Most tech companies have referral programs, and referral programs seem to at least prioritize getting those resumes looked at. So keep track of who you know. That's an important network. Add them to LinkedIn. If you use LinkedIn, most of you probably do. Some of your professors actually are great at keeping up with what's going on in industry, who's having trouble filling openings. So yeah, we've got this ridiculous problem in America. We have lots of developers seeking work, lots of college grads seeking internships and work. When you go on LinkedIn and you look at SDE roles in your area, typically all of them seem to have between 50 and 100 or 200 plus applicants. So there's certainly a lot of competition. And then within the context of visas, it's just interesting the sheer number of foreign skilled workers in the workforce in SDE roles. In many situations, and lots of comments from others, there are more foreign SDEs than, and when I say foreign, I mean H1B holders that may eventually not be foreign, they may be citizens in time, but at this point, foreign workers are outnumbering kind of the citizen workers. The citizen workers obviously being, various mix of backgrounds, could be born in the U.S., could be born anywhere, not part of this topic or argument. It's simply a matter of, are we prioritizing those who have been born into or worked hard to earn U.S. citizenship? I hope we are. I think you all deserve it. And those of you that are on H-1Bs, I encourage you as well to pursue opportunities. And with the H-1B visa issuance potentially doubling 2025 and beyond, that has a stacking effect. So each year, the H-1Bs that are approved and you obtain jobs and you're working, you'll still be working most likely next year and the year after, pursuing EB2s and other visa types. Meanwhile, every year there's a fresh wave of H-1Bs. There is a quota process. Not everyone that applies for H-1B gets it. Some apply for a few years to get it. With a master's degree, you get basically 2 drawings versus 1. There's a second drawing for the master's level, and you can repeat it each year. But once you're in, and you just keep working and eventually progress down the path to green card and beyond. So but again, the challenge is I believe we should be focused on outlier edge skills that we're not able to fill within the U.S. skilled workforce, as well as positions that we can't fill within the U.S. skilled workforce. My personal belief is that engineers from anywhere in the world have fairly comparable skill sets and talents. Certainly, there's cultural differences and there's sometimes collaboration gaps when it comes to people that are not used to working in the US, different level of expectations in terms of outputs, in terms of how you build, and in terms of collaboration. And so there's a bit of a more of a learning curve, I would say, for international workers coming into the U.S. For jobs. That does take some time. There's some challenges sometimes there, but at the end of the day, once everyone's acclimated to the roles and the culture, I would say skill sets are pretty darn comparable. But I've never seen a case where you could just make a blanket statement that foreign engineers produce 10x faster and better than U.S. engineers. Wherever those U.S. engineers may have originated from, it's just not really a reality. It's like saying that someone is 10 times faster at algebra than someone else. I mean that technically could be true, but if you have an advanced degree in math, I really doubt that to be the case.